Hey, I'm here with David, one of my former students. He's finished his TNT, he's on his own, and he ends up being the third generation. Well, I guess you would be the first generation, is that right?
Yeah, I'd be the first one.
But he has a very important life story of how he came here to Prime, and like everything that he's been through. Prime has changed his life, and he's told me how it's changed his life. How has it changed your life?
Well, for one, I'm old enough, I've been through a lot of jobs where everybody's been through the nightmare stories, bad bosses and all that. And one time in my life, I had a great boss. He was like working for your grandfather. And, well, better start so you'll understand, put some context with it. In 2020, October, I got laid off due to COVID. That was in October, and then January, our whole household got COVID, and we had a pretty bad case of COVID. It wasn't, nobody got hospitalized or anything, but we went through the whole loss of smell, loss of taste, and I always say it wasn't a loss of taste or loss of smell, it was broken. It's like water all of a sudden just tasted horrible, like just, I can't even describe it. And I was a big water drinker, so me and my wife both got to where we drank orange Gatorade. It was the only thing we could really tolerate, but it had just enough flavor to it. It was like, it was good.
So was it just the orange one, or was there other?
It was just orange. We tried other ones, and it was just real strange that it was the orange. But first indication I got, and I never really got sick. Never had the really nasal stuff, the cough, the sore throat everybody talked about. But I came in one day, and my daughter-in-law was making spaghetti, and I said, "You're making spaghetti? I don't smell it." And I mean, that was always first. You know, you walk in a room when they're cooking, you're the one that smells everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I came from outside. I had no clue, and I thought, this is something wrong here. And we started, you know, we knew we had COVID, but it's like, okay, now we're starting to identify with what everybody talks about. But we got through that, and that was January. And then April 7th of last year, actually it went on. The funny thing is, they told me, I'll back up. I had a massive heart attack on April 7th. And for people, I mean, my big message would be, if you feel something, go in. If you're not sure what it is, I said, well, because I went from Thursday, the 7th would actually be the following Wednesday, but I had my first attack the Thursday before, and I just had this just achy feeling in both arms, but it wasn't bad, and it lasted like 10 minutes, and then I felt good. Well, then that was Thursday, and then Saturday I have another one, about 10 minutes, same thing, felt exactly the same way. Just I have back trouble, so I'm thinking, oh, it's my spine, I got to work this out, you know. And that was Saturday, and then Tuesday about 7 p.m. Same thing, identical, and I was up all night. It never went away, so I hadn't slept. It was just bad enough to keep me from sleeping, but not horrible. But by the time 7 a.m., I actually waited because I didn't want to wake my wife up. But I thought, I got to go to the hospital. I mean, something's wrong here. So I go in, and they check me in, and all of a sudden I got like 10, 12 people around me, and they're going to get my wife, and they say, you're having a heart attack. It's a good thing you got in so quick. And I'm thinking, 6 days is quick. I didn't tell the doctors that. It's like, no, this has been going on a while. And so, long story short, they put a stent in. That was, in my mind, everything was fine. I mean, I'm laying there thinking, did they get get me mixed up with somebody else in the waiting room? Because it's not that bad. But, by the time it all got done, they did the stent, got in my room, the doctor came and talked to me, and they said, have you ever heard of the Widowmaker? I said, yeah. They said, well, that's what you had. It was involved with that area. And I'm like, really? Again, I'm thinking, you sure you got the right guy? Because everybody else was freaking out. My family, it's kind of like when somebody gets Alzheimer's or something, they're not the one suffering. It's the family, that has to endure it. But it was something, and I never felt as bad as I guess other people saw me, because I had my son tell me that I reminded him of when my dad was like in his mid-80s when he passed, and he was very feeble. And my son said, "Man, you reminded me of him." And I'm like, "Really?"
Well, it's kind of like you're the man in the family, so like we have to be strong for our family, and we don't want them to see us weak.
Yeah.
So we endure a lot of pain, and we endure a lot on ourselves.
Evidently, I do tolerate pain pretty well. I found out. I didn't know that about me, but evidently I did. But then they scheduled me for a cardiac rehab, and the first indication I got of how bad off I was, they put me on a treadmill, and I literally stood on the treadmill, and they started it. And we're talking like a half mile an hour, and I'm like, stop it. I mean, I started getting dizzy, and I could not stand on the treadmill. And again, long story short, I went through about 3 months of cardiac rehab. I got to where I was doing like a 6% grade, and about 6% grade, and I forget the speed, but I mean, it was up there pretty good. And during the cardiac rehab, I have to go to the emergency room. I mean, I knew they had me on blood thinners and stuff, but I started having blood in the urine. And I'm like, what the heck is this? So I go, this is May, a month after the heart attack. I'm back in the emergency room. Turns out I have a kidney stone.
The least of your problems.
Right. And so I had to run through that, get that. Finally, I passed it a couple of days later. It was like my 5th kidney stone in my life. But the crazy thing was I was on a keto diet, and they tell you what food, if you ask what foods cause kidney stones, the top 2 on the list are spinach and avocados, I think it was. Well, what do you think I was eating 90% of for the keto diet? It's big on raw spinach and avocados, so cut that out.
Love avocados.
I do too. I make it a treat. Now my cheats are having an avocado and spinach. if that sounds like a treat to anybody.
I heard kidney stones was the worst thing you could go through when you pass them, so I don't think I would be treating myself to something that would hurt.
I hate to minimize, because evidently, like I said, I have a high tolerance to pain.
Yeah.
Because mine, even though I've had like 5, I even had one, they said, go to the emergency room now, you cannot pass this stone. They were doing an ultrasound. They said it's too big. And I looked up the cost. I didn't have insurance at the time, and I looked up the cost of it, and I'm like, I'm not going to the emergency. I'm not spending $20-something thousand to get this thing out. I don't have $20,000. It's a big thing. So I went home, I got online, and they have the greatest thing ever is they have a thing where you take apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, and I can't remember the third ingredient, but you start slamming these things like every 30 minutes, and you drink a ton of water. Well, the lemon juice it actually breaks up the stone. Well, I ended up passing that in like 3 stages over like a 24-hour period. It broke it up, and I passed it. So, but evidently my tolerance for pain must be pretty good, because I've never had one my dad had them, and he thought he was going to die.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I hear. So evidently I tolerate pain. Never knew that about myself, but I guess I do. So that was that, and then went through the cardiac rehab, and I got shingles over the summer. That's no fun at all. I don't know if you know what shingles are, but it's not fun. But so I had to do that, and the whole time while I'm rehabbing, I'm watching videos about upper end motorhomes, like $1 million motorhomes. It wasn't a dream. It was like I was viewing it as what I've missed out on and I'll never have, because I'm done. I mean, I was going through depression last summer really bad. Because I've done fairly physical work all my life, and having that heart attack and everything, I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do now. So I was kind of getting lost in those videos, but one of the things that came out of them was they had Peterbilts on the front of them, and regular. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Automatics. I wonder what trucking's doing, because I had no idea about automatics and trucking, and I knew I had bad enough knees to where I knew I can't be doing the clutch. So I looked it up, and once I went down that path, of course, Swift and all these major companies, including Prime, you start getting little messages and things, and
Yeah.
I was so engrossed into Prime that I started trying to prove them bad. I thought they sound too good to be true, so I'm gonna prove that out, that they aren't that good. Because everything I was getting was like, no, they can't be that good. So it ended up, no, I was a fan of Prime, and I watched every safety video every week on Friday, and caught up on the old ones. I mean, I really researched it, and I liked what Robert Lowe said. I mean, he was somebody, and I thought, I'm going to trust what he's saying. And so that's what brought me here. And over that process, I was going to come by myself. That was my whole intention. Well, anybody that's around me and sees me research stuff, if you come over, you're going to get engrossed into it, because you can't help it, because I'm going to sit there and I'm doing my work. Well, my son kept coming over, because at first he said, Dad, that's not for me. So I'm like, fine, and I moved on. And he kept coming over, and then he started asking questions like, do you think I could do that? I said, I absolutely think you could do it. So long story short, again, we came to Prime. We were coming together, but then like the last month, I got bit with another thing. In my history, I had sleep apnea.
Oh.
So, I mean, I'm a truthful person. So when I did my test and everything, or went to the doctor, I had to tell them it's in my past. And they said, well, we're going to have to do a sleep study. Oh, man. It just, one thing after another just kept, because originally I was going to come like in August, July, yeah, right in that time frame. But it just kept getting delayed. Well, I did the sleep study, and I thought, I sleep good. I know how to sleep to avoid it. I know I can't sleep on my back, all that stuff. They did the sleep study, and I slept the way I wanted to, and I had sleep apnea. Which meant before I could come, I had to do 30-day compliance, which means 21 days out of 30, you have to be compliant. So me and my son Aaron, we talked, and he agreed that he would just go ahead and come. So it separated us 21 days. Because as soon as I hit the 21 days, I mean, I set the appointment before I hit that, and as soon as I hit the 21 days, I was to Prime. Another part of that story was, when they told me I had sleep apnea, they gave me a list of companies to get the CPAP machine from. Nobody had one, and nobody was going to have one. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to call that Cardinal Sleep at Prime, because I'm going to be going to Prime. They're going to be monitoring me anyway, so I'll just call them. And that Nathan, I can't remember his last name, Nathan at Cardinal Sleep, he next day aired me a CPAP machine.
Oh, wow.
So what do you think I thought about Prime then? It's like, it keeps getting better.
The grass is green over here.
Exactly. So I got that, and he really saved the day on that one. But so I got that, came and went through orientation, and waited and waited and waited, and didn't know why it was taking so long to get an instructor, until later I found out you had COVID.
Yeah.
And that's what I was waiting on, and you called me up. Well, didn't they tell you? I said, nobody told me a word. So
we dropped the ball there. So there's your negativity.
That was the first negative. That's my big negativity. I think they've done pretty good. But yeah, we got hooked up, and you taught me how to mess with a trailer, and I was a little familiar with backing boats and yard carts and little small U-Haul trailers and things, but it was a different game backing that trailer up. But you got me tested, trifected. So then me and my son, I went through TNT. That was a nightmare. Won't even go through that. But I had to get off a trainer's truck. And
how many did you have?
I had 3 TNT trainers.
3 TNT trainers.
And my best TNT trainer I talk about a lot, it was my son after I got out of TNT, and me and him teamed together.
And he has a YouTube channel. I can't remember the name of it right now. Do you know?
Cosmic Anti-Joke. It's just like it sounds.
So make sure y'all check that channel out too. I haven't seen a video on it in a while, so
yeah,
throwing you out right there. Make a video.
He actually, no more than he's made. He has people. We were running into people that said, "Are you that guy that has Cosmic Anti-Joke?" It's like, yeah. Oh man, I love your videos, but you haven't done one in a while. And he was clueless. He just thought nobody was watching them and stuff like that. But
we were. I was.
Yeah, that's cool.
I wanted to see you on TNT with them, or I mean, on the truck with them. Once y'all got on the truck together.
Oh man, I tell you what, teaming and anybody that teams and does YouTube video, my hat's off to you, because we both had trouble sleeping on a moving truck. So our focus was, when we were done with our drive shift, I mean, that was our focus. We had to try to get to sleep, and it was not easy.
So after teaming with your son for a while, what happened? Did you get your own truck? Did you go company, lease after you got off his truck?
That's another thing. In my opinion, the real money is the husband and wife.
Husband and wife.
When they're both driving and it's going to one household, that's a lot of money. But me and my son, that's two different households. He was getting good money, but being my son also, I mean, if somebody would have teamed with me and said, I'll split the revenue with you, I probably would have done it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to let my son do that. I mean, part of my goal in the whole thing was it eventually got to where I want to make sure he's set up good. I'm getting up there. I got more days behind me than I got ahead of me, so I want to make sure he's set. So I thought we loved teaming together. I mean, we really did. It was, probably the closest we've been in a lot of years, because it's a lot of time to spend together in a tight area. So it went really well, and I just told him, and when I finally told him I thought I ought to get my own truck, he said, "Dad, you went a lot longer than I would have." He said, "If I was in your shoes and it was reversed, I'd have gotten off this truck a long time ago and gotten my own truck." So now I have my own. Ended up, I was aiming for a 2020 International, because they'd been on every week for months, and then I get there and they don't have any 2020 Internationals. So
bad luck again, strikes again.
Bad luck. Well, maybe bad luck, because she said, "I don't have any 2020s, but I got brand new Internationals." I said, "Okay." So, and I looked at that, and I also looked at the lightweight, and fortunately Aaron stepped in again, and we talked it out and everything, and they changed the rule too. They did have it to where they wanted to incentivize you to take a lightweight. Well, they changed it, and from a 1-year contract, you could get a brand new Freightliner lightweight for 1 year. Well,
wow.
Just before I got there, they changed it, and it went to a 2-year, and that was a deal breaker for me. I didn't want to commit to a lightweight for 2 years.
So how did you get your grandson to come?
You want to hear a really funny story?
Let's hear it.
My son, or grandson, lives in Dallas, and his brother-in-law, married to my granddaughter, has a CDL and drives a local job there in Dallas. Well, he'd been talking to him, so he decided he would get his CDL. So he started researching how to get your CDL. Again, I'm saying this a lot. Long story short, he decided on Prime through his research. Had no idea me and Aaron were here. He told his mom what he was going to do, and she goes, "Your grandpa and Aaron are at Prime, right?" He didn't know. Had no clue. So he gives us a call. So now he got you as a trainer.
You hit me up.
I hit you up.
So he called me and he said, "Hey man, can you train my grandson?" And I was all like, "Yep, and I will do it to the fullest of my abilities." And he got his CDL, and all thanks to you. So I got the first generation and the third generation.
And we trifected. And Aaron, I know you're going to see this, but you had a different trainer. You didn't trifecta.
I'm trying not to hear it.
The two that had Daniel trifected, so hats off to Daniel. So Aaron's going to give me a hard time about that.
Oh yeah, especially when people start hitting up his YouTube videos. "Hey mister, I did not trifecta."
Well, in his defense, he had a trainer in TNT and PSD. Well, PSD mainly, same trainer, would not let him air test at truck stops at night, because he didn't want to disturb people. It is a loud process at a truck stop.
Yeah.
I understand it, but where do you think he failed on his test?
Pre-trip.
Yeah, he
The
failed
hardest part.
Failed the air test. So the air brake test. So it all made sense. But I mean, Aaron's a very, very good driver. So it's, again, the way it all worked out though, we were still 21 days apart. Even with all that, our anniversary dates are 21 days apart. I mean, that's weird thing. We both started 21 days apart, and even though he didn't pass his first time, bottom line was we were still 21 days apart because you tested me quicker than he got tested. So
Yeah.
so it worked itself out. And my grandson came in, and guess how many days apart my anniversary date is from his start date?
Oh, I didn't know this.
21 days.
21 days?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy.
I think,
Well, his anniversary date, I got to take that back because that's not accurate. You know what? I can't work it out in my head. There was something about him in 21 days, but I may have messed that one up. Sorry.
I'm all
So-
looking for my phone, and it's the camera right now. I was all
Yeah,
like, I can tell
the
you when he
phone's right
tested
there.
out. Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm in my 2023 International. Came back to Prime here I had an air leak, and they ended up keeping it a long time. So I had to try to make the best out of a bad situation. So I called my fleet manager. I said, they just came out with those. Love that color.
Oh, the gray truck driving by.
Yeah, International just went by, brand new, and they only had purple when I got mine. Now they came out with this
Gunmetal.
like gunmetal gray, and absolutely love it. But anyway, where was I?
You squirreled on me for a
You
minute.
get
I'm the one
distracted out here watching all these trucks go by.
I'm the one that usually squirrels.
So anyway, I'm in my 23 International. Came in, had an air leak, and they kept it. I got into training classes, so now I'm a certified TNT trainer, and looking forward to that. My son is actually training my grandson in TNT right now. They've been out about 10 days, I think it is now.
Yeah, because his truck was in the shop for a while, so
Yeah, so
his truck was in the shop, and then I think they went to I think he came and picked him up, and they went to Kansas City for a
yeah,
little
they
while.
took off like 5-6 days.
Yeah.
He took my grandson up to Kansas City so he could see my wife, my grandchild, my youngest grandchild.
I thought you were about to say girlfriend. I was all like, well, we're gonna have to cut that out.
No, can't talk about that.
Yeah, off the record.
No, dear, we have no off the record stuff.
No, dear.
So yeah, I have a 4-year-old, and she lives with us. My youngest son and his wife and my grandchild live with us. In fact, we all got the COVID, and that's who whole household got the COVID last year.
So that's why you got on truck and you said, I can't be in this house with all these people. I need some quiet.
Yeah, definitely. Now the hardest part really is that part of it, being away from home. I mean,
Yes.
it's really hard, but especially, your 4-year-old grandchild, at that age, they just, every time I go home, she's doing something new, and it's just, man, I'm missing out on that. But I got a 4-year-old grandchild, and I also have Jackson's 21. He's my grandchild.
Yeah.
So there's a big age difference there. And I just had Jackson's sister just gave birth, so now I just became a great-grandfather.
Oh, congratulations. And so you're sticking around until you got 4 generations of truck.
Not going to happen, Daniel. It can't happen, because if she's the only great-grandchild, and if she turns, they take you at 18 now?
Nah, it's still 21.
21, so 21 years, I can tell my age. I'd be 85.
You're still doing good. Look at you. You're in the perfect health yet. You're in great shape.
It is better than it's been probably since I was in my 30s, maybe even 20s, because it just, that's my message to everybody. Like I said, if you feel anything, go in, because you just don't know. And I always hated the thought that obviously I was doing things bad. I gained a lot of weight. I mean, part of this process was I've lost like 65 pounds and still got some more to go. But, it was my wake-up call. And a lot of people, some people don't make it. I mean, they told me that was the widowmaker. I mean, I could have easily not be here right now. So,
thank God you're here, because meeting you and having you as part of my life has meant a lot to me. And then you let me meet your grandson and train your grandson.
Oh, yeah.
And we butted heads for a little while, but at the end of the day, we started getting along great. And great sense of humor, and I can see a lot of you in him.
Well, me and Daniel butted heads too, but
oh yeah, we did.
But I always excused it because right after he had COVID, he tried to quit vaping.
Oh,
during my training.
Now we're getting into the dirt. We're getting into the dirt now.
And so sometimes I thought he was a little like over the top, and I said, he's trying to quit vaping. Why'd you have to pick now to try to quit vaping?
And then
Do it on the next student.
And then I lost it and started vaping again, and everything was good after that.
He was real chill after he went back to vaping, and I remember in my mind, I'm thinking, thank God. I'm sorry for your health, vaping, but hey, you sure act a lot better. So it was an experience, but yeah, he did a good job and got me ready, and I actually didn't feel like I was ready when he told me my test date was coming up, but hey, he knew better than I did, so I just went with what he said.
So after all of this is said and done, do you still recommend Prime as the place to come?
Hands down. And like I said, the amazing part was my grandson did separate research without even knowing we were here, and came to the same conclusion I did through my research. I mean, to me, that speaks really highly of Prime, and their system, and how they promote their product, and they obviously do a very good job that happens. So, oh, absolutely, it's a great. And if you got to do your research, don't just go to some school. I mean, I investigated all the private schools to get the CDL and
the colleges and all that stuff.
Oh my goodness, it's not even close. And you come here and you get, just tell you the whole thing. I mean, I come here, I'm not going to say how broke I was, but I didn't have any money. And you go through the orientation, you go through the PSD phase of training, and they basically loan you interest-free $200 a week through that process, and you pay it back $25 a week. And it's like, don't turn down free money. Take that money. You can live off that because they're putting you up in a hotel during orientation. Then you get on a trainer's truck, and even I think during the time through the whole PSD, they paid my hotel all the way through because I was training on the pad, so I had to have a place to stay. So they paid my hotel bill all the way through PSD. Then once you go into TNT, obviously you get on your TNT trainer's truck, so they don't pay you anymore the $200, but they pay you $900 a week. Yeah, which for a lot of people, that's really good money.
For a lot of people, that's more than they ever made.
Exactly.
Made in they're all like, man, I made that. It took me 2 weeks to make that, or it took me a month to make that much. So like a lot of people are really like, that's a lot of money you're giving me. It's really good, I think.
I think the other huge factor is, I mean, take me for instance. I went through the whole process and then got on my son's truck. We teamed. And then I call my fleet manager and say, I think I'm going to upgrade to lease. I want to run my own truck. And then I end up with a brand new truck, no credit check, no money down, you don't have to have a penny. They set up your lease, they defer the first payment, so you can get out there, you can work a full week and get you a good income coming in, and they put off that first payment. And I mean, it's just to think that you can do all that and have, like I said, no credit check, no money down, no nothing, and be in a brand new truck. I mean, that, to me, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, what other company does that?
Right. And in the process, I got to drive, my first trainer had a Freightliner. Obviously, you have a Freightliner, so I trained in that. Went to a Kenworth, which Prime only has a few Kenworths. And I think at the time they only had 10, and that trainer had one of the 10. So got on the Kenworth, and my son ended up leasing a Peterbilt. So got to drive a Peterbilt. Now I've got an International. So I've really covered the spectrum here.
So when Jackson buys a truck, he needs to get the Volvo.
He does.
And then you need a team with him.
Exactly. So I can get on every truck Prime has.
Yeah, then you've done them all. Like, you haven't missed none of them.
That Volvo would be sweet. I mean, it's a luxurious truck. I don't know it. I haven't researched it, but I know it's a nice truck.
Yeah, it is. I've drove one before. I was all like, man, it's cushy in here. It's nice.
Yep.
Never drove one for, like, I'm talking when I drove it, I just drove it around the pad. Like, I didn't take it out on loads and stuff, but it was pretty comfy on the pad.
I guess the The only other thing I'd say is I got word that I guess Prime wants to do a podcast on the 3-generation thing. I guess it's a thing. I didn't know. I guess I don't know that they've ever had 3 generations at Prime. The guy told me they don't, but that's hard to believe with 10,000 drivers.
I was flexing it. Like whenever I had Jackson on my truck, I took him up to get his paperwork done, and I said, "This is the 3rd generation of trucker right here."
Yeah.
I said, "I trained the 1st and the 3rd," and they said, "Why did you not train the 2nd?" I said, "Well, David was mad at me, and he told me I wasn't training his son, but I could train his grandson."
Well,
they were laughing about it.
Yeah.
They don't
Quite
know.
honestly, when I came to Prime, the fact that we were 21 days apart, Aaron went to orientation on a Monday. So that was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then Thursday, got classes and everything, and then Friday morning, I think he was in logs class and got a call from his PSD trainer. So 4 days he had his trainer. So I wasn't even at Prime. I think I knew of you. I'd watched a lot of Prime videos, so I knew of you, but really didn't know you. So I wasn't even at Prime yet when he got his PSD trainer. So no, he wasn't avoiding you. He didn't know you.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I wish I could have had all 3 under my belt, though. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3. I have talked to Aaron before, and I was explaining to him serpentine over the phone, because he was kind of having problems doing a serpentine. So I was kind of explaining it to him, and I told him to go try it out. I don't know if he's tried it out or not. I should call him today.
He actually uses that, yeah.
Oh,
he does. I didn't really grasp it, but he did it and he likes it.
Yeah, so like he was all like, I just don't understand it. He was saying, they said do this, this, and this, and I explained it in a new way. And the way I explained it, I'll just explain it right now. So the way that I do a serpentine is, like, say the trailer's too far to the left, I will turn to the right and pull the back of the trailer about 2/3 of the way to where I want it. Then I'm going to turn the wheel the other way, and I'm going to pull the front of the trailer about 2/3 of the way that I want it moved. I won't pull it all the way where I want it, because it's still going to move, because I still got to get the truck in front of it. And the 3rd wheel turn is getting the truck in front of it, and then it should all be lined up by the time everything stops moving, or pretty close to it. And that's the way I explained it to him, and he was all like, wow, that makes sense. I'm going to try that out. And I was like, yeah, man, try that out. And I guess it helped him.
Another message I would get out there for everybody, especially people that are driving right now. I got held up for 3 days. Again, I'll try to do a long story short. I delivered my 90 in North Canton, Ohio. And I delivered, they didn't have any empties. So I had pre-planned, they had a load for me going out of Michigan to Texas. It was a really good load, paid like $3.50 a mile. Well,
that's great.
I was ready to go. I was all pumped. I thought, man, I'm going through Dallas. Maybe I'll finally get to see my great-grandchild I haven't seen yet. With the whole COVID thing and everything, it's like nobody could go in and see her while she was right after she was born. So I still haven't seen her yet. So I thought, wow, maybe this will be the time I get through. Other times I went through Dallas like 2 a.m., stuff like that. Like, sorry, I'm rolling through, but I can't stop. And, anyway, they didn't have any trailers. So my fleet manager tells me to go 32 miles away to another customer. They'll have a trailer. I get there. They say we don't have any empties, but that one in door 25, you can back up to it, and after they unload it, you can take it. So that whole thing, let's just 4 hours later, guy comes out to me. I'm all ready to go, and I see they're unloading it and everything. The receiving supervisor comes out, and he said, man, I know you've been waiting, and I'm sorry to be bearer of bad news, but this trailer's promised to somebody else. And so I go, oh my gosh. So I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. So I call the 32 mile away 90 that I delivered to yesterday and called them back, see if maybe overnight they got a trailer in. Well, they did. So I go there. I open the back doors of that thing, and like 3/4 of that chute's hanging down.
Oh,
and I'm looking around, and I'm like, that's the only trailer they had. So 2.3 miles away, there's a Love's. I can get this fixed like that. I go there. They got 2 young kids working, don't know anything about chutes. I said, you don't need to know anything about chutes. I can show you what to do. They said, well, we haven't been trained in that. We can't do it. I said, I can help you. You can let me do it. I'll do it.
Give me a ladder.
Just give me a ladder. They wouldn't do it. They said, well, it'd probably be 2 or 3 hours. They had this guy coming in. 2 or 3 hours rolls around and go back in. Nope. Too far down the list. Next day, Sunday, they lost my ticket. I go in there Sunday morning. They say, well, we don't have a ticket on you. I thought, well, because nobody knows anything here, you probably got to it and threw it away.
Yeah.
So anyway, bottom line, they wouldn't loan me a ladder. They wouldn't let me do it with them watching. I mean, it wasn't going to happen. And they said, Monday morning, our chief mechanic will be in. Well, he comes in. Poor guy, he probably weighed 500 pounds. He got up there, and I watched the process, and I really felt bad for the guy. He barely made it up into that trailer, and he's on a ladder that's nowhere near rated for what he weighed, but he got it done. So I got out of there like Monday afternoon, lost the Michigan to Texas load.
Oh.
And so it just ended up. So when I finally make it back to Springfield, me and Aaron, I have him take me to Lowe's, and he knew the whole story and everything. Well, what do you think we both bought? We got a ladder that'll fit behind our passenger seat, weighs 12 pounds, and will get you to the ceiling of that reefer.
You know what I've done in the past? Now, whenever I came to trucking, I was a lot skinnier. I used to take the low locks and put them across the wall and use it for a ladder, and I would climb up there. But you would have to cinch them down hard.
Oh, yeah.
And like I would climb up there, get it done real quick, and get down.
That's a good idea. I should have called you. See again.
Yeah, see, but one time, whenever I started realizing that I was heavy, is I climbed up my ladder of low locks and fell, and that floor hurts when you fall on it. And the low locks fell on top of me. 2 of them did, and it's not fun. So I mean, like if you're really wanting to risk it, say there's only one that's pulled down, like one of the pieces, the rivets, and you're in a quick rush, I would do it again. But I fell and it hurt, but I would probably do it again.
Yeah.
It just, a little tip.
That is good.
And I've also took a piece of tape once, and I put the rivet on a piece of tape and taped it to the end of the low lock. And I put it up there, like hit it hard, boom, and stuck it up before too.
Yeah, evidently the people, and I think it was the place I delivered to 3 days before. I think they're the ones that did it, because when I had to clean out the trailer, I found all the eyelets that are in the tarp.
Yeah.
They were all on the floor. I mean, like 8 of them. So they ripped it up good. So you'd have to make new holes through the tarp.
That forklift hits it sometimes.
Oh yeah. They tore it up. I mean, they had about, I'd say half of it in the front of the trailer, and then the back quarter just ripped down.
I wonder if they make anything that, like, for stuff like that, like a rivet, something that you could push up there and just hit it while you're on the ground from the bottom and stick it in there.
That would be a second alternative. But for you guys, what's that major brand of ladder? The big Little Giant.
Little Giant.
It's a platform ladder. It's got like 3 rungs, and you can stand on the third one, and it's like a 12 inch by 12 inch. It's a good platform, and you can stand on it. And it, like I said, it weighs 12 pounds, and it folds up thin, and it easily goes behind the seat. So Aaron's got one, and I got one now. So that's never going to happen. That was the most frustrating thing I've been through, because I mean, that was 3 days of lost revenue. Yeah. And I had no option.
Yeah. And do you sweep out the trailers, or leaf blower, or what?
Leaf blower. If it's a protein load where there's blood in the trailer or something, obviously you got to go wash that out. But normally it's just like pallet dust and real easy clean out. So.
And as long as you pick it up after you blow it out, then nobody has a problem with
that. I do. I mean, I see guys blowing stuff out at truck stops and just leaving all that on the ground. And when I go back there, I got my leaf blower and I got Walmart sacks, and I pick all that stuff. I try to pick up most of it before it goes out the trailer, the big stuff. And you know, a lot of it's like almost like sawdust, you know, so it doesn't hurt. But yeah, clean up your mess.
Yeah, clean up your mess. What's some of the best tips you got for the new guys coming out here? Like, hey, fuel.
Oh,
You are the connoisseur
you're
of fuel.
picking. That's a long subject for me, but it's my son thinks I have OCD because he said, Dad, you can sit and look at your MPG gauge for a whole drive shift. But there's a lot to that. You know, once you get started, you're going to kind of come up with an average miles per gallon. Well, then you start making little adjustments. And if you're a little bit below that, it'll be 1 arrow to the left underneath it. And if you're way below it, it's going to be 2 arrows. And same thing if you're going downhill, getting a little bit better gas mileage, fuel, sorry, not gas. You get 1 arrow and 2 arrows. Well, I see that as a terrain indicator. So my biggest point would be know your terrain. Everybody thinks Nebraska's flat. Nebraska's not flat. You gain like 5,000 feet across Nebraska going west. So obviously we were getting like in the upper 10s coming west to east. And then we'd go east to west on a different load that was comparable, same weather conditions, everything. And all of a sudden we're like at 9.2. And it's like, why is that? So that's where I started really getting into the terrain and thought, well, no wonder you're going uphill. You think it's flat driving across it. In like places like Flagstaff, Arizona, once you're there, whether you're going west or east, you're going downhill. It's up at 7,300 feet. Either direction you go, you're going to get great mileage. Now, it stinks getting up there, but there's places like Tehachapi, California. I don't remember the mileage. It's a pretty good haul to Barstow, downhill all the way. You can get like 12 miles a gallon going 65, because everybody says, what's the best speed? There is no magic speed. You have to know the conditions you're in, the terrain you're on. Sometimes 65 is your best MPG, because if you think about it, if you're coasting, would you rather coast at 65 or 53? Obviously 65. It's going to be better fuel mileage because you're covering more ground quicker. So you got to know that stuff, and it takes. I mean, to me, it's not rocket science, but it just takes a lot of time. Well, what do we have more time to do than anything is have time. We have nothing to do out here but sit and look at an MPG gauge for 8 hours.
How much money do you think that you save on a, like, we'll say 1 week, save by driving better, having your fuel mileage, or spending less on fuel by doing this? Like, do you feel like you're saving a lot per week?
I think the easiest way to put it is, and Prime puts this out, but I don't think they explain it the way I like to explain it. If you get 7 miles per gallon, you got 200 gallons. That's 1,400 miles range, right? If you get 1 mile per gallon better, you get 8. All of a sudden, you get 200 more miles. Now you're at 1,600 miles for those 200 gallons. So 1 mile per gallon. Now, you want to break it down. Miles per gallon, what will 200 extra miles, how many gallons is that? It's like 25?
25.
So 25 times whatever the price of gas is, fuel, diesel. Sorry, I say gas. Got too many years.
That feels expensive.
Gas. So you get it up. I mean, me and my son were running. The fleet average was 8.6 approximately for the fleet average. Our fleet, we were running above that. In fact, a lot of times we were in the top 5, sometimes higher than that, but like 3, 4, but usually 7, 8 in the fleet.
In a Peterbilt.
In a Peterbilt. And everybody says, oh, Peterbilt won't get good fuel mileage. Well, I found out, now my brand new International doesn't do as great, but it's brand new. I hit 5,000 miles in that truck, and all of a sudden, it's like you flipped a switch. All of a sudden, I bumped way up in my fleet for my last week I was out. And it's like, I talked to them in the shop about it, and they said, when it hits about 5,000, it'll get in its groove. And it really did. I got like 10.2 miles per gallon from Erie, Pennsylvania to St. Louis. And with a heavy load, the heaviest load I'd ever taken.
So that's hilly too. 10.2 with a heavy load?
For a heavy load, I was like right at 40,000 pounds. That was the heaviest one I had taken. So it wasn't doing that before. I mean, it just right when I got to about 5,000 miles, it just really something happened. It got a lot better. So
Any problems with the International yet?
just I had an air leak, and I mean it was there from the get-go. I had a problem with the seat. It was there. It was on my inspection when I took the truck. I mean, everything I had wrong with it was there but I went ahead and took it because I knew it wasn't really anything. Honestly, no, the air leak I didn't know about until after I hit the road because you couldn't see it, and it actually involves being hooked to a trailer, even though it's not the trailer. Because when you're driving bobtail, you've got your trailer brake cut out. So if it's anything in that line, you're not going to know about it until you hook up to a trailer again, or have it tested with it. They did have like dummy glad hands where they can hook it up and at least test
I
that
got
line.
some blocks over there that block the airlines.
Yeah.
So no electrical problems, nothing like that.
No,
'Cause
it's-
the rumor going around is International, you're gonna have major issues with it, with the electrical and all kinds of stuff. So 5,000 miles, you haven't had
I'm
no
about
issues?
5,500 now, and nothing. I mean, it is the smoothest truck. And of course, I had a guy stop me over here at the Millennium Building here at Prime, and he saw that I had that truck. You know, he knows his numbers. You know, your truck number pretty well tells you what year it is, what make it is, and all that. And he took it upon himself to stop and tell me how could I pick an International? What was I thinking? And telling me everything was going to happen. And I told him how good the ride was, and he said, "Oh, give it 1,000 miles. It'll be all loosey goosey by the time you hit 1,000." Well, I'm at 5,500. It's still the best ride I've had yet. I mean, it is smooth.
Better than the Peterbilt?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Peterbilt's definitely second, but
Freightliner last. Man, I asked the loaded question and put down my own truck.
No, Freightliner's good for two things. You can have it worked on anywhere, and it gets the best fuel mileage if you drive it bad.
Yeah.
If you want to drive all these trucks bad, Freightliner will kick everybody.
Yeah.
Because you can drive at 65, pedal to the metal all the time, it will get the best fuel mileage. But if you drive all of them the way you need to, I don't know who the best is, but you can get all of them really close. But Freightliner does do better maxed out.
Maxed out.
So that's pretty much the fuel mileage. It's a huge thing because like I just showed you, 1 mile per gallon makes a 200-mile difference in your range. So if you go from Prime pretty well figures everything off 7 miles a gallon. We've been running, and now I'm running over 9. So you go 2 miles per hour. That's 400 miles you gain off the same full tanks of fuel. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's real good.
So that's 50 gallons. If you can go to 9, that's 50 extra gallons.
That's like 3.5 more hours you can drive without filling up.
And 50 times. I mean, if you just took right now, the low end of diesel is $4 a gallon, our cost. So 50 times more, that's $200.
About the macros to fill up, do you follow the macros or do you look yourself to find the cheapest spots?
I think what's that, Macro 27?
Macro 27.
Yeah, I get that, and then they also provide a map of the same information, and there's variables there that I don't always follow it because the one thing Prime doesn't know is what your plans are, you know, where you're headed. You know, because I look at it and say, okay, I understand why they want me to get the amount of fuel here that they want me to get, but I also know from there I'm going to here, and that fuel jumps like $1 a gallon.
Yeah.
So I'll put more in here to anticipate that, and so I can get back to that point without buying any of that fuel, especially like in California where it's easily $1 more a gallon.
So if you have a pre-plan, it's even better because you know, hey, I can make it all the way there. It's cheaper over there.
Exactly. And there'll be times like if you're headed back to the terminal, there's one Circle K in our system evidently trying to get Prime's business, and it's in Divernon, Illinois, which is just south of Springfield, Illinois. They had the cheapest fuel price in the country on our system, and we have over 1,600 locations that they put on that map. Well, they would be the cheapest. Now, last week they suddenly dropped down. I don't know why, but for a couple of months they were like #1 on the list, and it's like, why is that? But every time I would go through there, I'd fill up.
Where's the cheapest place to get fuel?
Right this minute?
Like, what's the cheapest state, I should say, or
Right
area?
now, it's Georgia.
Georgia.
Don't know why they weren't there, but now they are, and it's changed. I mean, like my son and grandson, they're headed back from California, headed to Minnesota. They just went that route. Well, they got pretty good fuel prices up until, like, I think Cheyenne was like one of the cheapest on their route, which was really strange. But you got to keep following it because it changes all the time, and you don't have any good reason why, but it changes.
And you probably want to so what I would do is I would reset my macro 27 every day. Every day I would right whenever I got up to restart it, because every day the fuel price would change. So I would restart my macro 27 at the start of the day.
Yeah, minimum every morning. Yeah,
every morning.
Absolutely.
I think you can do it every 12 hours, I think.
Yeah. In fact, I just went through the trainer class, and the guy teaching that class said he runs it 3 times a day, because he swears that the prices can change up to 3 times a day. I'm not aware of that, but I'll take his word for it. He's been doing it a lot longer than I have. But
you're the expert. You're who I'm calling, or I'm sending people to.
It's fun. I mean, there's not a whole lot to do out there on the road, but I'm not the gaming guy.
Yeah.
I find stuff like that fascinating. I mean, and it's all about your income. It's fun to do, and it'll make me money.
Yeah.
If I can maximize my fuel, then I've made more money. So it's fun.
You can't beat that too. Like anything to save you money or make your profit more, like I agree with it. Do it all the way. Just like fixing your own trailers and stuff like that. We talked about that. Fixing your own trailers, fixing the rivets. That's all tips to save money and save time. Time is money out here, and any way we can save time, we're making more money. Because when that clock starts, it's hard to get it back. 8 days you get it back, or take a 34-hour reset to get it back. So time is money. Anything you can save that clock and get that truck moving every day more, the more loads you can do, the more revenue you make. I mean,
the one thing we didn't mention about repairs, especially on a trailer, because Prime owns that trailer, and if you go down for whatever reason with a trailer, Prime pays the repair on it. So not only will you save yourself, I mean, I was down 3 days with 3 days lost revenue because of a stupid shoot on a trailer. Well, had I had the ladder and been able to do that, not only would I have saved myself 3 days revenue, Prime would have paid me to fix it.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot.
We didn't even mention that. They pay you. Now, it's not huge money, but I mean, my son picked up a trailer and it was missing the mud flaps. He was at a truck stop anyway. They paid for the mud flaps and paid him $75 to put them on. He goes, "Dad, I'm no mechanic, but it took me like 15 minutes to put those mud flaps on, and they paid me $75.
And you don't even have to go in the shop or wait for the shop or none of that.
Because a truck stop would have charged you, a repair shop would have charged more than that. Prime knows that, so they take care of the driver and say, "Hey, we appreciate you doing that, and here's how we're gonna give you money." That's what everybody's after.
Windshield wipers, same thing. Lights, all kinds of stuff they will pay you to do.
Yeah.
I don't claim the windshield wipers. I just do them myself. Prime's good to me, so I'm not trying to get them on everything. If I have to crawl under a trailer and change a mud flap, I'm getting paid.
And there are differences. I mean, you got company drivers and lease drivers. Now the company, they'll pay you to do those windshield wipers. A lease driver, they're not going to pay you to replace your own windshield wipers.
No.
So.
Or they used to pay you for the windshield wipers.
Oh, I'm sure
they
on
might
company,
not anymore.
On company, I'm sure they would, because you're driving by the mile on company, and they're any repair, because you're not responsible for that truck on company. So they'll pay you to do just about anything.
I was at a TA one time, and the guy in front of me, he was all like, I need new windshield wipers. I can't see when it rains, it smears it and blah, blah, blah. And they're all like, "So you want us to put it in the shop to change your windshield wipers out?" He's like, "Yeah." They're all like, "Okay, we got about a 2-hour wait." He goes, "That's fine." That's all they do, walk out to his truck. I said, "Do you have the windshield wipers?" He's all like, "Yeah." I said, "Dude, do your own windshield wipers. Check this out." I said, "Open up your hood." Climbed up on the tire, showed him how to do one. I said, "You do the other side." He did that. He was all like, "Oh, cancel my shop time." Like, they were going to charge him for that. I don't know how much it was, but...
Right. Oh, yeah. It's not going to be cheap. I mean, because their hourly rate, I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it cost him over $100 to
Yeah,
have
it
those
was probably
points.
$75 just for them to start.
Oh yeah. So yeah, but there's a lot of people out there that just don't know how to do anything mechanic, and they just freeze in their mind. You know, they'd say, "Oh my gosh, I can't do that. I've never done that." They don't really know how easy a lot of that stuff is, but
Yeah.
you have to have the willingness to do it. And I'm more of the type that I'll try anything. May not do it right the first time, but I'll learn from it.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you do is you try something out, and if it works, it works. If it didn't work, then guess what? Don't do that again.
Exactly. Kind of like the way you train me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Try it out. Do whatever, man.
I got to where I really got better at my training. You know, being trained was because I didn't want Daniel yelling at me. So it's like, I'm getting this because I want him to shut up.
Yeah. and then a lot of times, like I remember one time you asked me, which way do I turn the wheel? I said, I don't know, just turn it. I have no idea. Just turn the wheel, see what happens. I did the same thing to your grandson, and he was all like, he just looked at me, he was all like, you know which way to turn this wheel. I said, I don't know. Just turn it back up. I don't even care. Just do something.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that stuff we don't understand why you're doing what you're doing at the time, but later we kind of go, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
It's like, he's not going to tell me which way to turn that wheel because I need to know which way to turn the wheel.
Yeah, this is about having confidence in yourself.
Yeah, and you're not going to be out there when I run into that situation again to tell me which way to turn the wheel. I better figure it out.
Exactly. But we're going to get out of here. I need to get him to his truck. His truck's parked somewhere. I'm going to give him a ride over there. We're going to pick up his truck. And thank you for doing the video with me. And your story's inspirational about everything you've done just to get here to Prime. And I hope that people see this video and they see it and they're like, man, that is awesome. Your story is awesome. I love your story, man. I really do. And it was awesome meeting you, getting to know you. And it was awesome training your grandson, and we had a good time, and I do appreciate it. And we're gonna get out of here. Like, comment, and subscribe. And subscribe to, what was his name again?
Cosmic Anti-Joke. I will be starting a YouTube channel soon.
What?
Yeah, I've been talked into it. Like I said, I'd rather have a root canal than do that, but
You're good at talking.
I am gonna do it. I think that, especially the heart attack. I mean, if I can stop one person from going through what I went through, it would be worth it. So I'm gonna do it. And everybody that knows me at Prime knows me as Mad Cardinal.
Yeah.
Which, if you want to do just a quick story on that, we are people that believe that God works in mysterious ways. And when I was sitting there trying to think, if I go lease, what am I gonna do? What's the name of my company? And the whole time I'm trying to think of it, and I'm always looking for inspiration or somebody with it was a sign, something. Well, we had this bay window in our living room, and this male cardinal kept flying at the glass. And so finally I timed him, and he did it like 47 times in an hour. Oh. Just kept hitting the window. He was at the bird feeder, and he saw his reflection. So he kept flying because he saw another male. That's what he saw. So he's trying to get that male. So the whole time, and then I'm finally going, man, that Cardinal sure is mad. What's he mad about? And I sit there, Mad Cardinal Trucking. Hey, that sounds pretty good.
And that's where it came from?
That's where it came from.
I thought you were a Cardinals fan.
No, not at all. I'm not a Cardinals fan, but
wow, my mind's blown because
Isn't
all
that
this
crazy?
time I'm all like, he's a Cardinals fan. I was all like, that's all I know. But yeah, we're out of here. Thanks for watching the video, and subscribe, comment, like, and we'll be looking for his channel pretty soon.
it's coming.